Welcome to today's Legally Speaking podcast, LinkedIn Live, where we're diving into something very, very exciting. We're flipping up the script when it comes to all things legal leadership, and I'm joined by two powerhouse duos behind the Lawyers Retreat, the wonderful Kate Burt and Kirsty Pappin, to explore how they design the space for law firm leaders to step out of survival mode and actually move into something far more powerful, which is purpose-driven, people-led growth. So from yoga to sunrise succession talks and so much more, we're going to be going through a heck of a lot today. So a very warm welcome, both Kate and Kirsty.
Great to be here, Rob.
It's great to have you with us today. So let's start from the top. Come to you first, Kirsty. What made you both say the legal industry needs a retreat like this?
In a nutshell, Kate and I both went to Ibiza last year to both work on our respective businesses. And as we walked into this venue, that just sort of into the pool area, which overlooked the Mediterranean Sea with this Vedra, we just felt this very much, I keep calling it this moment, but we just stood there and went, and that overwhelming sort of feeling of relaxation, which we hadn't felt. And we independently thought, imagine if we could bring all our law firm clients here and get them to experience this moment. And as the evening was progressing, and again, independently, I thought, actually, there's nothing else like this in the legal sector that does this. How about we do a conference here? And then roll on having dinner that evening, we both thought, oh, guess what? I just had this thought. So did I. And it just, from there, just went, and that's how it all started. It started from an moment, you could say.
There we go. And I guess coming to you then, Kate, with regards to the name and a bit more of the story behind it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we kind of had the concept, as I say, we both kind of felt that, and we even said, like, we can see our clients, we can see our network, milling around the pool, and it was so real to us. But for the longest time, it was just a few hours. we didn't have a name for it. So we had the concept and we knew the feel of it, what we wanted to achieve, but we didn't have the name. And the name came from we were walking down past there's like a lovely herb garden, vegetable garden, past the garden and over to the yoga studio, near the yoga studio, and we were talking about how the event would run, and Kirsty was mimicking a phone call with her husband when we were talking about, would we invite partners and that, and Kirsty was on the phone, pretending to be on the phone to her husband and saying, oh yeah, so Ashley, are you going to come to the Lawyers Retreat? And I went, that's it. That's the name. It's hold the phone. It's the Lawyers Retreat. And literally it stuck from the moment Kirsty said, are you coming to the Lawyers Retreat? So by the end of that, by midnight that night, we had branded it up. We had bought the domain name was just after midnight. We'd bought that. We had commissioned the website. We had sorted out the finances, and we'd even figured out, are we going to be VAT registered or not? That was literally on day 2, wasn't it, Kirsty?
Absolutely. When you said, it's the Lawyers Retreat, I remember just jumping up and down and screeching. I was like, oh my God, how is that, where did that, it just came so naturally to us. And then the shocker was that the domain name was available on both .com, .co.uk, .org. It was just...
There was a heart-skipping moment when it said available and it said unavailable. And we're like, what? How is it unavailable? And there was that moment like, no, has somebody got it? But then I don't know how, but it was available. And that's it. We've just run with it, haven't we?
We have, yeah.
You absolutely have. And, I always say ideas really are nothing without action, and I love that you took action that exact moment and moved forwards. And I know that you've been doing a lot of work behind the scenes. Obviously, here at the Legal Speaking Podcast, we're delighted to be your media partner for year 1, and we've had the privilege of learning about the agenda, and we're very excited. You've basically curated everything from breath work to branding. But could you give us a bit more of a flavour, and how did you decide what to have included in the first year of the Lawyers Retreat? I'd love to come to you first, Kirsty, and then I think from your side, Kate.
So we already had the concept of succession planning in Paradise, and we did start off with that, but we felt that the succession planning part was, it means so much, and it has this interpretation for so many. So we ended up going with the strategy, scaling, sunshine, and success. And I think, Rob, you had a small part to play in pulling that together in a comment that you made. So again, coming back to this whole natural organic movement that we've had with much of the Lawyers Retreat. sort of background. And one of the things we're really keen about, and I'll let Kate explain more about the more, shall we say, academic workshops, but we were really keen to ensure things like, actually, we've got the space, and Ibiza is not just, as we all know, the club sector. It is also very much bohemian, well-being, relaxation, being able to have that time to sort of recharge. So we knew we were going to have the hatha yoga, and we knew that we wanted to have somebody that was a keynote that very much could easily bring the conceptualization of the mindset and visualization, which is where Maya came in. And I was really lucky enough to have been part of one of her workshops before, and just felt that actually that if we could get her there, that would just set the scene for the entire next few days for people to suddenly learn about mental fitness and visualization.
I think it's worthwhile saying who Maya is. Actually, Maya Raichura, she's a mental fitness expert for the likes of Lego, for Nike, for ASICS. She's the person. So remember Kirsty.
She's just the nicest person. When she just very knowledgeable, really, really lovely, and is going to spend a few days with us and have conversations with the attendees as they wish. So it's not just she's turning up for her keynote and then going home. She's actually staying with us for a few nights, so that and enjoying the time and the space, and we'll have her moments to explore the island as well. So yeah, it's brilliant that we've been able to bring that.
Yeah, and I guess, Kate, building on that then, and sort of getting into the practical side, not necessarily playing devil's advocate, but a lot of lawyers are very busy, and they'll be quite skeptical in terms of sometimes well-being, or even 10x, which you and I are very much both on the bus for that and believe in it strongly. But how do you balance that sort of inspiration with practicality when thinking about a lawyer's retreat and the people coming to actually be out there with you?
Absolutely, and we are now sold out for the main ticket, which is incredible to get. And there's a few people that have said, you've managed to get lawyers to commit to going out of the office. And we're like, well, yeah. So we have now done that. Had you asked us that 6 months ago, we'll go, well, we hope we can. But we've now sort of proven that. But how we've done it is, so one of the first conversations that we had was with a gentleman called Dinesh Raja, who many of you know, and he's a managing partner at Bowling & Co. And Kirsty and I pitched the idea to him, and straight away he got it, that there's so much value for the leaders of law firms to come away to work in this way. So because he was already bought into the value that can happen within a law firm if you get the leadership out of the office. And then he added to the sort of the seed of an idea that we had, really brought life to what would be really valuable for law firm partners. And we kind of, and it's been this collaborative process since. So what we've done is, yes, you've got the actual being away from the office and the space, but also the workshops that we have lined up have been set very intentionally to maximize that time, because the cost of the ticket is actually very minuscule compared to the investment of time of bringing one or two senior leaders out from your law firm. So we have things like, yes, the mindset work, but also very practical things on financial mastery, for example. Or we've got Nadine Stanton coming out to talk about why do you duck those difficult conversations, which can actually have a massive impact on the firm. And of course, we've got cyber, and one thing that's very unique, actually, which I haven't seen at any other legal conference, is we've got a full PR team coming out, a full film crew coming out, and digital marketing team coming out, who are also going to be leading on workshops as well. So not only are they covering the retreat, but they're actually teaching skills, those real skills to help scale the business.
Yeah, it just sounds really exciting, and I'm looking forward to getting out there. I just want to come back to the location point, Kirsty, because you talked about the story, and then Kate obviously built on that as well. But why Ibiza? What role does the specific location play in encouraging legal leaders to actually open up and think differently? And do you think the Lawyers Retreat will always be Ibiza or not?
The last part's a really good question. I'll come back to that in a moment. But the reason why we stuck with Ibiza for the first year was actually we stuck with the venue that Kate and I stayed at because of that feeling that we had when we arrived. The food was really lovely. It was locally sourced food. It was very secluded. You had like we mentioned, Svedra, but genuinely you could see the sunsets. You just don't get that sort of scenic, secluded space easily in Ibiza. And it's away from it's a very short ride from the airport. It's about 25 minutes, but it's away from the hustle and bustle of other towns and so forth. And it just meant, actually, we thought if we know how, it was kind of, for us, it was a tried and tested location. Going forward, will it always be in Ibiza? Possibly. There are other venues that we have spoken about. There's always the likes of some of the Greek islands. You can have some great business retreats there. Again, not done before. We've discussed potentially having one in Dubai. We've discussed Australia. There's
Miami.
Miami came up. But I think we will always like to have one at least in Europe. Whether there are more than one a year and where the future of the Lawyers Retreat goes is to be seen. But it is not a one event finished. It is one event and growing. And we've already got a list of people that want to attend already next year. So it could be Ibiza, but potentially a different hotel, maybe slightly bigger, a different setup, but again, the same beautiful scenic locations, and offering something very similar. But that's what a post-mortem's for after an event, to sort of find what worked well, how can we improve and be better next time.
Yeah, and I think it's definitely listening to those people as well, and then sort of tweaking and finessing and making it bigger and better every year, which no doubt this is going to be. I always say to people, it's never what you do for people, it's how you make them feel. So how do you want people to feel after leaving the Lawyers Retreat year one? What do you hope they're going to do differently back in the office, Kate?
I think I would love for people to feel moved in a way and transformed in some way, and really to be looking forward to getting back to the office to implement some of the changes that they felt. And those changes may come from one of the workshops, or just being out of the office, or a conversation. There's many different ways that shift can occur, but if something shifted in them, then I think we've done our job there.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's that sort of intangible, that intrinsic value that you will get as host, knowing that people go away and then proactively, put it to action. Then maybe even drop you a quick LinkedIn message, say, "Hey, I learned this in Ibiza and it's now working," or actually that really reframed
that would be amazing.
my mindset. And it's that sort of intrinsic side you get of things. But I guess, again, challenging, because I'm a big believer in putting on new things, innovating, creating, but the legal industry isn't always the first to accept that. So if there's a law firm leader or a managing partner watching this thinking, this sounds great, but it's not for me, what would you say to challenge that mindset, Kirsty?
Why is it not for you, I think, would be the first question. What is stopping you? How do you know you haven't been? I know that's like you don't know until I think it's in the grand scheme of things, it's a short space of time to come out and spend some time learning something, investing in your business. I think there's a lot that can be taken back. There's the opportunity of being part of the community that will be created while we're in Cala Cabo. I would say, in actual fact, buy yourself a 3-day delegate pass, find yourself some accommodation and come along and find out, and then decide whether it was for you or not. Because I think we've now found that a few people were sat on the fence for a long time and now actually quite disappointed that they didn't jump fast enough, because they wanted to stay within the venue. And the venue's not massive, so it is very much going to be a really sort of intimate experience for everybody that's there. So come.
I do think also that because it sounds fantastical and it sounds otherworldly in a sense, that it can feel like that couldn't be, or I'd never get that past the board, or I can't imagine that happening, or that being okay. Like, that's so, I can't get myself there. I think once people see the footage of people like them out there doing it, it was this is acceptable, an acceptable thing to do. But I think the year one, I think lots of people will be watching, let's see how this works, and then it's safer year two, because it's always that thing, isn't it, with you get the early adopters, and then you get the, you'll probably know all the terms for the early adopters, and what's the midsection called, and there's the
laggards and etc.
I didn't want to say laggards, but that was the word of my mind. But there is, isn't there? And there's those sort of trailblazers that sort of jump in, see an opportunity, jump in. And there's the majority of people think, well, let's see how they get on. Is that safe? And then we'll have a look next year. So I think the tickets will go much, much faster next year. To be honest with you, but I mean, we're both so ecstatic that we've managed to sell out with more than a week to go. Because none of these things aren't guaranteed. Success isn't guaranteed on these things. Would anyone see the vision? Would sponsors be prepared to part with their time and money to join us? And that we haven't touched upon the sponsors as yet, but we've been absolutely blown away by the support we've had from everyone that's joining us out there.
Yeah, no, and it's been tremendous, and I guess that leads nicely to a word that you mentioned before, Kirsty, community, and how does community factor into this experience, and how are you thinking about continuing that connection after the retreat? Because I say a lot of things, it's great to show up, but fortune is always in that follow-up, isn't it? It's that application afterwards. So have you any thoughts on that sort of community and sort of follow-up piece?
With those that wish to be a part of it, we've set up, very much that, I guess you could say, that generic concept of a WhatsApp group, but we're going to set that up so people are able to have to sort of readily get contact details. I'm sure people will exchange information when they're out there, and that will be both for that's for all attendees. And so if anyone, you're sort of getting a bit of a vibe, bringing everyone together before we arrive. We've got our welcome dinner on the Tuesday as well. So that'll really start kicking things off. We've got a bit of surprise entertainment there, but it's very relaxed again, just allowing people to have some nice food, just in sort of just, they would have just had their flight out. They may have been busy doing some work in the morning before flying out. We don't know. So it gives those people the opportunity to set themselves ready for the next day. And I think that's when the community will start really building up, and it will just grow throughout the next few days, and hopefully afterwards people will meet some new people and build a connection. But it's looking at, and one of the things that our partners are coming to this for and looking at is the long-term gain. They're not looking for anything quick. They appreciate it is part of being part of the community and supporting and building relationships that will hopefully last for months and potentially years to come.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Contacts are good, but it's the relationships that you nurture and foster over time that really matter. Okay, I want to come on to two quick parts. Firstly, fun. I'm a big advocate for fun in the workplace. I think it shouldn't be a nice to have. It's the DNA. You need to come and actually have a smile, put a fun, have a bit of laugh and get through the work. So what can people expect in terms of fun? Kate, do you want to talk about that?
I mean, the group of people that we've got coming, you can't not have fun. In a crisis, we will be having fun. So I think that as a baseline is just fun. And in terms of the entertainment, we've really carefully curated the vibe so that it's not too crazy, not too party, but we've got the white party planned, so everyone's going to come wear white. So if you are coming, don't forget to pack white. We've got an international DJ, Adam Guy, who's going to be leading our white party and sort of sunset vibes. We've got the tapas evening bongos. Have we got bongos going on?
Yeah, we've got some tapas over sunset with sort of chill vibe, bongos playing. Just again bringing that sort of, I guess, that sort of classic Ibiza relaxation and vibe, so people can just sit, and if they want to have if they want to have a drink, if they want to just sit with their feet dangling in the pool, whatever it is that they want to do, and just not feel rushed. We want people to feel that they can just enjoy their evenings, and for once there's not something for them to run to.
Well, nice segue there, talking of running, because following on from your post this weekend, Rob, about your 5K run, and this is about, you know, that creativity in motion as well. So you did a post at the weekend about your consistency in running. I posted on about I'd been for a 5 a.m. hike with Whitney Williams from PR by Whitney that morning, and the conversation went in the chat, and before we know it, we've said let's add on a 5 a.m. Jog or a hike in Ibiza, and whoever wants to do it. So that was the agenda planning in motion, and that's how these things happen, though, isn't it? With that sort of really organic, when you get creative people together, ideas happen and plans are made, and those with the follow through. So
they do. And you know, I know I learned this from Jack Newton, CEO of Clear, about this sort of flywheel effect from the book Good to Great by Jim Collins, which a lot of people have read. And it really is about the more that you put these energy inputs, you surround yourself by people and you put inputs into something, the momentum keeps building and it then starts getting faster. And it's just been a snowball, hasn't it? When you look at the Lawyers Retreat, from where you both were out there, thought about it, took action that night, to then sort of collaborating with so many people in and around the community, new, existing, you know, further developing relationships. And so it's horribly exciting. So I guess before we look to close, Kirsty, would you like to maybe give a shout out to some of your sponsors, your partners for year one, and perhaps anything else you would like to share in terms of the Lawyers Retreat?
Yeah, sure. So, so big thank to yourself, Rob. Bringing out your.
It wasn't a loaded question in that regard. It was genuinely. We're honoured to be part of it.
For, you know, bringing out your red mics, and I know that we've got a bit of an agenda on the cards for the Legally Speaking postcards. Sorry,
maybe that's a spin-off. Legally Speaking postcards.
We can send postcards, but podcast.
Merch ideas.
We'll bring versions of.
Brilliant. No, definitely no. You know, we've got our diamond partner who's supporting our strategic coach, and then our sapphire partners, professional training, ETI Cloud, Cool Media Marketing, United Wolf Productions, Legal, PR by Whitney and Breeze, and then we have our topaz partners, Beautifully Legal, Sursum Advisory and Review Solicitors, and also not to forget, you know, the supporting companies behind Aries Eagle Practice Management and Hive Risk, and a big shout out to Justine, Hive Risk's managing director, who literally about 20 minutes before this call started was discussing menus with me. So I was just making sure, you know, everything fit in with all the dietary requirements we had set through, and making sure I hadn't missed anything, and we're not, you know, if anyone's got any allergies, we haven't chucked in something that's going to be unwelcome. So, you know, no, big thank you to every single one of our partners for joining us for this inaugural event, taking the leap of faith with us, and making this really a reality, and being able to offer our delegates such a reduced rate for the Lawyers Retreat, so we can make our first year a success. So,
and not forgetting the wonderful Jodie Hill.
And Joe, yes,
not only an incredible employment lawyer and law firm partner and owner, she's also going to be leading the yoga on one of the days.
Yes, so we do the Friday morning yoga session. I'm really sorry if we've forgotten anybody, but Maya as well. Just anybody that's supported us and partnering with us. We, you know, very, very thankful to everybody.
And obviously, this has just been a whistle stop of the excitement that's building 1 week out today for the Lawyers Retreat. But if people want to know more about the Lawyers Retreat, obviously I appreciate, you know, you're sold out for this year, but can they go to any websites? Is there any email addresses, any newsletter lists? Do you want to maybe shout out, Kate, where people can go to find out more?
Yes, so we've got our email address is hello@thelawyersretreat.com, so we can pick up correspondence there. We've got our LinkedIn page, the Lawyers Retreat. We've also got a website, thelawyersretreat.com. Now, whilst we are sold out, we can accommodate last minute day passes, and we can support you finding accommodation in the local area. So if you think, do you know what, I desperately need to be there, we can get you in. We can move things around, but so there's still this, it's not too late to be involved if you want.
There you go. There's still something there if you can make it, which I'm sure, hopefully off the back of today, I'm even more excited about this. Any final words from either yourself, Kirsty or Kate, before we close?
I think the biggest thing for me, the thing that kind of pulls it all together, and it sort of pulls it across the GBLO as well, which I'm sure we'll do another LinkedIn Live about, that is our headline sponsor, the strategic coach. I think that really glues it all together in with very practical, actionable things, and the mindset shift, but also the doing. And I think that just really is the icing on the cake for me, that sort of headline sponsor. So stand out.
And I was just, enjoying some of the strategic coach content just on that before we close. And, one of the gentlemen was saying, what gets more gets caught than taught, i.e. the environment you're around, the people you observe, the actions, the behaviors. So, you're going to catch a lot of nuggets off people just by the way they kind of conduct themselves or the way they approach this retreat. So, I'm really excited about strategic coach being there, and there's so much value for people coming along. Look, this has been an absolute blast. We're kind of getting the mics warm and ready to come out this time next week. Very excited to be part of this. But from all of us on the Legally Speaking podcast, wishing you tons of success for year one of the Lawyers Retreat. It's an absolute honor to be your media partner, and let's do this. But for now, over and out, everybody.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.